This quest takes place after the events of Treasures of the Main. It's recommended that you watch that two-parter before watching this, but here's a quick recap. On your way to 1.0 Limsa, your ship is attacked by a sea serpent. When arriving in Limsa, however, no one seems to recall the attack. You encounter a man named Stallman, Commodore of the Barracudas, during your visit to the Coral Tower, who's planning an expedition to a mysterious island that has recently appeared out of nowhere called Seal Rock. You also meet a man named Emmerich. You meet a fisher named Sissipu, whom you escort to Oshon's torch. You overhear a conversation between Emmerich and a mysterious gentleman seemingly in cahoots with the Sahagin. The air vibrates a lot. And now, we turn to the next chapter. This is Chronicles of a Realm, Legends Adrift. After returning to Badaron in the Drowning Wench, he tells you that rumors about the mysterious island of Seal Rock is now spreading like wildfire around 1.0 Limsa. Men are now whispering about a terrible sea serpent, the very same serpent Limlane bound to the bottom of the sea in the early days of creation. Badaron reminisces about when the serpent last rose up from the depths when he was a small child. It's not something he remembers fondly. The air vibrates. An adventurer rushes into the Drowning Wench, asking Badaron if he's aware that the Barracudas have been ambushed by the Sahagin just off Seal Rock. Not only that, but while the Barracudas fought off the Sahagin, the Misery, Kraken's Arm's flagship, managed to slip by and made landfall on Seal Rock. The Misery has now made port, and it's lying low in the water, a clear indication they didn't leave empty-handed. After this encounter, you talk to the adventurer. He tells you that he tried to warn the Barracudas, but to no avail. Badaron is not exactly happy about the situation either, exclaiming that Seal Rock has brought with it nothing but trouble for 1.0 Limsa. You walk around the Drowning Wench, talking to patrons. One fish-smelling adventurer tells you that the Sahagin launched their attack almost halfway between Limsa and Seal Rock, which is why reinforcements were so late to arrive from either area, and why so many Barracudas are now swimming with the fishes. A whispering adventurer talking to a fellow unapproachable adventurer asks if he's heard that the Sanguine Sirens supposedly got a man into the Barracuda Seal Rock unit. The unapproachable adventurer mentions Miradolan, the same name that popped up during your encounter at Oshon's torch. You notice the Mikote female standing near the exit of the Drowning Wench, and upon approaching her, she asks you if you can assist her. She asks if you have witnessed any individuals aiding the Sahagin, adding if those individuals were bereft of a shadow. As you think back, that one guy at Oshon's torch did not seem to cast a shadow. As you confirm this, she looks concerned. Before you can say anything else, the sound of a horn echoes in the distance. You walk outside with the Mikote. She mentions the Astalicia and that she needs to call upon some less restrained characters. You follow her back into the Drowning Wench. The air vibrates once more, and you find that the Mikote is gone. Badaron is surprised to still see you here, but recalls your conversation about the sea serpent. He tells you that if you wish to learn more about what happened the last time the serpent was spotted near Limsa, you'd be best off asking some of the pirates that fought the beast back into the depths it came from. He bids you visit the Astalicia, a ship that used to home a fiercely aggressive crew that has since cooled down after their captain retired. The ship was opened to other pirate gangs and started a guild of their own, the Marauders Guild. You make your way to the Astalicia, only to find that Wakebert, the closest thing to a guild receptionist, pretty much laughs at your question, calling it an old wives' tale. That's when you hear a booming and familiar voice from across the room. It's none other than Rostenstahl. He tells you that he can bring you to the serpent's, teat, if you'd like, as long as you can provide him some gill. And you actually do give him the gill, although doubtful. And then he proceeds to punch you in the stomach, calling it heresy to talk about the sea serpent near him. And please, can we just Look at this grammar. I want to die. The air vibrates sharply once more, and Raynor storms the ship, telling everyone to stay where they are, as they are here to question the ship's captains. The crew, now upset, begins to protest, but are quickly subdued by none other than Commodore Stallman. Carvalane comes up from the lower decks, telling Stallman that he's wasting his time, asking him why he's not working on how to get his revenge on the Sahagin after they razed his fleet. Stallman calmly tells Carvalane that word has it a man named Emmerich is in his employ. Hand him over and they'll be on their merry way. An overeager Barracuda knight adds that they know Emmerich was the one who sold the Barracuda's navigational charts to the Sahagin, and they even have a witness. Carvalane seems surprised by the accusation, adding that it would be treason if the allegations are true. The Sahagin are not only enemies of the Barracuda, but 1.0 Limsa and all who call her home, including them. Carvalane gives Stallman and his crew permission to search the ship. As you walk downstairs, you overhear a conversation between Carvalane and Roswin, the leader of the Sanguine Sirens. Carvalane says he thought it was her man Mirodolin who had stolen the charts after infiltrating the Barracuda's ranks. She tells him to mind his tongue. Mirodolin barely escaped with his life when the Sahagin ambushed the Barracudas. If Emmerich really did betray his kin, she'd personally guarantee that Stallman and the Barracudas would be the least of his worries. You continue downstairs to find Emmerich being attacked and then carried out of the ship by Stallman. As you walk upstairs, the air vibrates violently. You look down to find Rosenstahl lying on the floor. Rosenstahl has the worst accent in the world, and every moment he speaks is agony. He rambles on about the sea serpent, but not really bringing anything new to the table, other than his seething hatred for the Barracudas, as well as an odd mention of the pullers. As he snaps out of it, he apologizes for his behavior earlier, before he starts to leave the Astalicia. But then he turns around and gives you a good look. If you just kill some Barracudas for him, he'd make you a pirate! Oh joy! He even invites you to join his crew of exactly one! Yes! How can we not? No dice though, so he leaves. As you're left alone, Maderon calls you on the ether, laughing at your struggle on the Astalicia. He even said he had a horrible feeling you might end up in a rum barrel over the starboard side, whatever that means. Upon learning about the Barracuda's intrusion on the Astalicia, he simply shrugs it off as something they do quite often. He ends the call by letting you know that a wee lass from the pullers was at the Drowning Wench earlier looking for you. It seemed urgent. This has to be Sisipu, and you make haste to the Fisherman's Guild. Arriving there, Sisipu refers to you as the bargain adventurer, and requests that you join her on a Sahagin hunt, no less. She rips your map out of your hands, marks the spot, and leaves. The spot is none other than good old Auchan's Torch, where your first quest took place. You meet Sisipu at the spot, and she walks over to the shoreline. She then proceeds to pull out her fishing rod. You didn't bring one, and she's surprised you thought she'd take you out to actually hunt real Sahagin. She's just a fisher with a hook, a puller with a pole. You're here to collect Fairy Remora, a tiny breed of shark that releases a milky poison the Sahagin detests. She adds that she's been catching them in these waters since she was a little girl. Back then, the Sahagin posed no real threat. They were just a nuisance. But nowadays, they're attacking pullers themselves, leading some to leave the profession in fear of their lives. And it all started when Seal Rock appeared out of nowhere. Like the rumor you heard back in the Blacksmith's Guild, Sissipu has been trying to convince Wawalago that the island is indeed Swallowtail Rome, and that continuing to disturb the island, the Guardian and her minions will avenge themselves upon those who've defiled their sacred domain. But it's no use. Wawalago simply laughs at the suggestion. She repeats the story of the island and the serpent we learned about in the Blacksmith's Guild, ending with her conclusion that if the rumors are true, it will only be a matter of time before the seas begin to rise once more and Limsa is swallowed whole. The air vibrates. A booming voice is heard in the distance, calling Sissipu's name. It's none other than Uncle Stallman. Stallman tells Sissipu that it's dangerous to fish here, even with friends, but Sissipu clarifies that you're not friends. Stallman looks at you, questioningly. He asks if he can trust you to keep watch over Sissipu while you're here, adding that it'd be a shame if anything were to happen to their little witness. Sissipu asks if Stallman caught the man talking to the Sahagin, to which Stallman replies that yes, Emmerich has been arrested, and hopefully Emmerich will further assist the Barracudas in catching Carvalane as well. When Sissipu asks if she's safe now, Stallman confirms that yes, it's Emmerich's time to be scared now. He tells her that all the big pirate crews of Limsa wants him dead. Stallman mentions that they've hidden Emmerich somewhere no pirate would think to find him. Stallman insists Sissipu leave her fishing spot though, as the bad men know this is her favorite spot, and will know to come here should they look to catch her. Stallman bids you come closer. He then tells you that Sissipu is one of the only survivors of Brookhaven, a village that was raised by the Sahagin. While Sissipu was hiding, she saw Emmerich speaking with one of his Sahagin contacts. This rings a bell, doesn't it? He instructs you to bring Sissipu directly to the customs house at Melvan's gate if you sense anything amiss. As Stallman leaves, the air vibrates once again. Sissipu catches a fish, before telling you that she's headed back, and that you should consider learning about this prime fishing spot, Payback, for escorting her to the lighthouse safely earlier. Badron once again calls you on the ether. He tells you that the people at Melvan's gate has been looking for you. Seeing as you've got nothing else to do now after that odd encounter, you head down to Limsa's customs house. You are greeted by Pataja. She says they've been expecting you. She walks over to the right and beckons towards another Mikote standing nearby. Her name is Jarl. She brings out the standard issue flintlock you were handed by one of the Knights of the Barracuda earlier. The weapon has now gone missing, and you're now a suspect. Removing a Barracuda firearm from the city limits is strictly prohibited under the Thalassocratic Charter, and each and every weapon assigned to a knight is magically engraved with a number that identifies the weapon and its owner, making them easy to track and impossible to sell on the black market. She asks you to hand the weapon over now so that there won't be any complications. You tell her your side of the story, that Sergeant Manscone confiscated your weapon. Jarl is taken aback by this. Manscone was assigned to the Seal Rock unit. The air vibrates and a massive explosion rocks the building. The door is kicked open by none other than Roswin of the Sanguine Sirens, claiming she's looking for Emmerich, and she's certain he's hidden here. The customs house is brought to a standstill, while the Sanguine Sirens search the building for any signs of Emmerich. You learn from the people near you that the Sanguine Sirens are no joke. They are infamous for their treatment of men. They'd literally make them slaves of the female members and then worked day and night until they literally collapse from exhaustion. And the men that cannot perform their duties are hanged from the bow of their flagship, the Lady Infernal, by their willies. Yikes! You make your way downstairs to find the guards on the ground and the Mikote from before. She tells you she might know of an alternate way out of here. As you make your way across the downstairs hall, you run into Jarl. She seems to recognize the other Mikote, but she tells her there's no time for heartfelt reunions. It turns out the Mikote is looking for Emmerich herself. She wishes to speak to him about a certain shadowless associate. Jarl knows nothing about Emmerich, and as first assessor, her only concern is the safety of the artifact unearthed on Seal Rock. It's a stone tablet covered with the letters or runes of a language far older than any found in their archives. It might reveal more about the treasure the Kraken's arms are rumored to have stolen. The Mikote immediately recognizes the language as the Rotano Bloodcant, a language few know of. It reads, "And feign to suffer fell grammaries, wherewith to lose o'erreaching seas." Jarl is flabbergasted at the woman's ability to read the tablet, asking for further translation. But time is running out, and they need to leave. As they make their way to the top floor, this happens. The Barracudas are approaching, so the sirens see it fit to leave, but not without threatening every single person present. If they mention the sirens to the Barracudas, they know where they all live. The Mikote tells you she must continue her search for Emmerich, and, should you run into him, tell him to beware the man without a shadow. Pitarja, scared for her life, calls you over to ask her a question, anything, so this will look like a normal day when the Barracudas come to check if anything is wrong. Just as you make it to her desk, the air vibrates again, and her demeanor changes. She asks Jarl if she's alright, and there she is, right in front of you, lost in thought. She brings up the weapon again. She tells you that she will inquire with the Barracudas about it, and gives you permission to leave. What a day. As you finally return to Badaron, you tell him you wish to find Emmerich. Badaron tells you that Emmerich is caged in a big ship anchored offshore, as keeping him in the Coral Tower makes it too easy to escape. It was Stallman's idea to hind him on the ship, but it's gonna be a difficult task to get on board it, so Badaron is not comfortable helping you get there until you've grown a few more levels. He hands you 15,000 gil, and you've completed Legends Adrift. But the plot thickens. Why did Emmerich sell out his kin for a handful of coin? Who is the shadowless figure, and what is his role in all of this? Is Seal Rock Shallowtail Rome? It will all come to a head in the dramatic two-part finale of the Seal Rock story arc in Never the Twain Shall Meet. Until then, may you ever walk in the light of the crystal.